So this one today is a Toyota Yaris 2012 model. It's a 1.3 petrol engine with roughly 53,000 miles on the clock. As part of the service I'll be doing today on this Yaris, I shall be changing the engine oil and filter. As with all oil changes, I like to crack loose the cap if I can, pull the dipstick up as well. Cool, that is tight. Go. Yeah, just allows air back into the engine as the oil's draining out underneath, and hopefully it'll go quite smoothly. Right, underneath the engine here, under the car, this is quite warm, so that means the oil will come out a bit quicker than usual. So this is a 14mm sump plug, sump bung. I just prefer to use a single hex wherever I can. It just reduces the chance of slipping. So get your drainer ready. Hopefully this won't splash. So you can see the oil filter's right next to the sump plug here, and that's actually got a drain plug in it as well. So pop this down on the floor and we'll undo that next. Something to check before you put your sump plug back in. Make sure your washer isn't split or crushed or anything like that. They're normally good to go again. This has got a fibre washer on it, which looks fine. Otherwise, when you go to collect your parts, just make sure you've got the registration number with you, and wherever you go, they'll be able to look up your vehicle details and recommend the correct type of oil, the oil filter, and should be able to give you a sump plug washer as well. The oil filter for this one isn't a genuine Toyota one, it's an aftermarket, and you should be able to get one for under £10. Alright, just nip that up. Don't have to go too mad because it is only aluminium, the sump. Next we'll get this plug out and drain the filter. I've got my 3/8 drive ratchet here because the plug in the bottom of the oil filter housing, that is a 3/8 square. It should go straight in there. Just make sure you got your drainer ready, or bucket, whatever you're using. I don't think too much will come out initially. It's got a little valve in there. No, just a little bit. Now the oil filter should come with one of these, which I believe you just push straight up in there, and that opens the valve and lets it drain down. Thought it would stay in by itself, but it doesn't seem to want to. Well, let's let the worst bit out of there. I shall find a tool to fit on the bottom of this housing now, and undo that. This is a set that I've had for quite a few years now. You can pick them up fairly cheaply online. Don't really use it a great deal because I tend to use the big slide grips on most oil filters. and a lot of the plastic housing ones have a 27mm hex nut shape on the top. However, it does come in useful sometimes. Found the correct size. It's the same sort of shape as you know, a metal spin-on oil filter. So that fits snugly over the housing there. And it is yeah, 3/8 drive. Probably going to get a bit more oil out now. Hopefully it will go in the drainer. Yeah, I might leave that for a minute just to let that drain down. Thought we got the worst of it out, but it still looks like there's more in there. Right, that's slowed down to a slow drip now. I bet I still get covered. Oil filter housing. I'll let that drain for a minute and then we'll pull the cartridge out. Right, so this should just pull out. Yeah, there we go. The new one looks the same, top and bottom, so should be able to go in either way up. And also we've got the O-ring seal here to replace. Set it back into the groove there. We've also got another O-ring which came with it, and that goes in the bottom there for the drainer plug to do up against. But I'll replace that once we get the cup off. Right, that's nipped up. Get this cup back off bottom now. That's the other seal I was talking about. That should just pop out there. Yeah, that's that. And then just replace that drainer plug. This a bit of clean up. I've got some brake and clutch cleaner. That's a pretty good degreaser, and it evaporates fairly fast as well. Lovely. Right, we'll drop it down next and get some oil in. Right, let's get a funnel in there and make sure your dipstick's still pulled. This time to allow air back out of the engine as the oil's going in, and hopefully it won't all glug back up through the filler. When I took the registration number in to get the parts, they've recommended a type of oil. There's lots of different brands, so prices can vary, but you should be able to get a 5 litre tub sort of around 50 or 60 pounds at this time. So they also recommended that this engine should take 3.4 litres. I'm going to go with about 3.2 to start with. It's just that the fill quantities aren't always that accurate, and if you just go and put the full amount in that's been recommended, you might find that actually that's a little bit too much, and then you've got to get back underneath and fiddle around just trying to drain a little bit out, which does get a bit messy. I've done it plenty of times myself before, but try and avoid it by putting in slightly less than the recommended amount. So now I just need to start it up and let it tick over for a few moments. Don't need to rev it. It's actually not a good idea to rev an engine that's just been started, especially if it's just been drained and refilled of oil, because it can take a few seconds for it to circulate. The oil light's gone straight out, and that all sounds good. Sounds normal. Just like to let it run for a few moments and let it get round all the bearings, all the galleries, refill the oil filter. That should do. Switch it off there. I'll let that stand for 3 or 4 minutes and check on the dipstick and see what level we're at. Got the dipstick out, that's clean. And you can see quite clearly there the pimple there for minimum and one for maximum. I'm going to try and get as close to that maximum one as possible without going over, ideally. Because having too much oil can cause damage, like just not having enough. Yeah, as you can see, that's probably about 5 mil from the maximum mark. A bit messy of that side. Let me dip it again. Yeah, it just needs a little trickle more. So I'm just going to carry on and keep topping up in little dribs and drabs like that and checking on the dipstick until I get to a level that I'm happy with. I don't need to run it again because the oil's already circulated and filled the oil filter, so just got to leave that again for another 3 or 4 minutes and check it again. I've only topped it up the once. We've got about 3.3 in there, and as you can see, that is just touching the maximum mark. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm happy with that. All that's left to do now, get this oil filler cap back on and take it for a road test. I'll do with most of my jobs, just give it a run around the block and make sure there's no leaks. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully the video's been of some help for you. And if it has, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It will help our channel out no end. Cheers.